Welcome to Old School. Mark Thompson here, Michael Shore, John Arola, and it is a terrific panel. Already we've been asked on Twitter, with Cenk not here, how come we're starting late?
That's a great point. I was more concerned with finishing on time than starting late.
Well, Michael, you'll note, for those who are watching as well as listening, because some are just listening, I'm aware.
We know.
But Michael has this sun-kissed look, doesn't he, John?
Yeah, he does actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's from
ready. Exactly. You got to get ready for that presidential election.
I do have to get ready.
He's gonna be on the road.
Right, the 26th candidate.
Do you find that? So obviously you're out in the sun a lot. Like I happened to cross you in Detroit and you were getting sun.
Yeah.
Do you find that in terms of like exercise and stuff, you're out on the road, you're walking around, is it good for you? Is it like helpful for you?
Well, it
health-wise?
depends. In 2016, no, because I was less conscious of what I was eating. I was eating like crazy. I like to eat, and so when you're doing these things, you're invariably in places with bad food, unhealthy food, and you seek it out, and you wouldn't seek out as much unhealthy food as I. But that was 2016 me. I am now.
No, you're woke.
I'm somewhere, but well, I wouldn't say.
Are you food woke?
I'm not. I'm woker. I'm drowsy.
That's a walk, actually.
What's that?
Nothing. Never mind.
Right.
Let's move past it. Anyway.
But yeah, no, but you do walk a lot, right? I mean, I walk much more when I'm doing that than when I'm in Los Angeles, where you never walk.
Well, and again,
it suits you.
Just to get everybody up to speed, who might not know, I mean, you're covering candidates. You're covering politics, and so that's where you've been. You've been on the road doing all of these different stories and following all these different candidacies.
Yeah, but I had real FOMO about the Iowa State Fair, which I went to in 2015, and I couldn't this year. I was anchoring for the other network that I work for, and anchoring's great. I was pleased, honored, all that. There's nothing like the Iowa State Fair.
Well, if you want great food, there's nothing like deep fried buffalo colon or whatever.
Or fried butter. How about fried butter?
Yeah,
where they actually fry the butter and you eat the butter. But the corn is, I mean, it's just seeing it is great too.
No, I get it, but even as I watch it, I think to myself, wow, to be a candidate, you got to do such crap. I mean, you've just got to do such. There's so many disingenuous moments, and the Iowa State Fair is one of them.
Well, State Fair, no question.
Yeah, State Fairs generally. If you're look, but the point is, all of these candidates have to do this crap. They all have to do. That's just one example. That's like maybe the
But
hood
is it
ornament
disingenuous? That's the great question.
Like for some it is, for some it's not.
Right. If you're a senator and you like being among the people and you like this interaction that's part of your profession, is it disingenuous to go there and shake hands and talk?
Not the people part.
Oh, it's the enjoying the hot dog.
Oh my God, pass me that deep fried,
Of course.
That part sounds pretty good. I don't necessarily want to ever talk to anybody, but the food sounds good. I mean, look, you talk to a lot more of these sorts of people than I do. I mean, obviously we can see like Joe Biden or whatever. For all that I disagree with him, he seems to really like mixing it up with people.
Well, he also loves ice cream. There's no question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he loves ice. He's always loved it. He loves ice cream.
So how many of them actually want to be at this fair talking to a person about the Oreos they just fried?
I mean, they don't want to be at the fair necessarily talking about the Oreos. They all want to win, and they all want the attention that comes with it. And that doesn't, I'm sort of the opinion that I'm not cynical about politics. Like I think that these people, on balance, most of them do it because they care. Every single one of them has an ego, and politics feeds that ego. And I don't think having an ego is the worst thing that you can punish someone for. It's doing nothing, right? That's worse than having an ego and trying to do something. But that's the only universal thing, is that there these really powerful egos among politicians. Most of them, don't get anything done because it's very difficult to get anything done. Most of them go there wanting to try and do things. So when they go to these fairs and they're talking to people, this is their avenue to that, and then this is the adoration. It's no different than, you were in Detroit on the stage, you weren't doing it for the adoration. When you were talking, well, you were, never mind.
It was actually a significant part of the speech.
I totally thought you were somebody else. That's but it's a nice bonus, right? But you're trying to spread a message and change some minds and let people know what's going on, and be TYT Army and all of that, and that's really invigorating, right? Well, this is invigorating for them in the way that satisfies them. I just think that we penalize ego so much. Ego is something that not everybody has, and for those who have it, it's just part of their personality.
There's a distinction between ego and egotistical, and you need the ego, the healthy ego, to feel strength about your opinions and a desire to follow through on what you feel is best for the nation or for the lives of those who are in your charge. But if you're egotistical, then you lose sight of everybody who's in your charge and those who are trying to serve because you're so concerned about yourself.
Right. Well, but can you be? I mean, I don't know. It's such a subtle difference. If you have,
I don't think it's a subtle difference at all.
Well, maybe that's why I'm asking you to define it more. If you have a big ego, or if you have a big enough ego to run for office, whether it be alderman or president, right? There's some ego in you. Where does it jump to egotistical? Where you forget about it, where it's all about you and not about anybody else?
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be all about you. When some significant percentage is about you, then you become egotistical.
That's fine. Yeah.
I think I think the healthy ego is I think I can make a difference.
Right.
So that is the
Yeah. Can I ask you something? We can return to the Iowa State Fair because I am interested in it. But you brought up the ego, and I suddenly started thinking about you. You have a son.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of thinking about the potential of having kids.
Right.
And me and my partner, we have different fears about certain aspects of what it's going to be like to grow up in the modern era or whatever in terms of technology and screen time and stuff like that. But the fear that I hear people say is that everybody's growing up in a time of like ubiquitous social media and everything, and they're all so worried about their public image, like almost like they're all influencers basically.
Right.
You have a sample size of one, but what's it like?
It's tough. I mean, because it's different, and it was different for our parents watching us watch television all the time. Probably it was different from any parent to see that. But this is so different that it's hard to. It's really a rough thing about parenting right now because you see these kids who isolate themselves. Right? We used to talk on the phone. Right? They never talk on the phone. They barely text. Right? My son and his friends. Everything is they snap each other, or they, in the case that there's someone who doesn't have Snapchat because it was taken away, they Instagram DM each other. I am whatever it is on Instagram. I don't have Instagram, but it's this whole. That's this whole way of communicating. They don't understand. He can't understand that I speak to my friend on the phone. I can speak to a friend on the phone for an hour.
I mean,
my son, it
almost
blows
never
him
talk
away.
on the phone.
You might not because but you're also a year or two.
But I
younger
did growing up.
Me.
Like I remember getting like a few people's phone numbers and who we're gonna call her or whatever. Like I remember that.
Yeah, no, it's not a thing that people do. It's clearly not a thing that people do as much, right? That's clear, and that's the sign of the times. But they're so buried in this now, and I don't condemn it because they're all doing it. I condemn it sort of in a societal way because one of the great things about taking a ride, right, is to see the dumb signs and people walking and look at that guy driving and look at that bill. When did that building come down? When did that store open? Right? My son and all his friends are like this the whole time they're in the car. Well, it's great when they're 4 and it stops them from asking all those questions and keeps them quiet. But when you want them to sort of be stimulated by the world and they're
or to understand the English language,
or to understand the English language too, or the Spanish language or any other language.
Yeah, but while you're looking at all those signs, Michael, there's a lot of good snaps and stuff that you're missing out on.
I'm totally missing out on that.
Yeah, so I mean, gotta think about that way.
I don't mean it's like an old fight. I realize this is what it is, so I don't reprimand it because that's what everybody's doing.
And is it?
It's just
it's
hard
all
to
of
get
them.
used to. It is
it's not
all of them.
70%. It
is. Listen, my son's a 14-year-old boy, right?
Damn, he's 14 already.
I know, and
Jeez.
he's going to be 50 in like a half hour, and he's he doesn't read. Right? None of the kids read, but there are a couple of kids who read more. I didn't read as a 14-year-old boy. I didn't. Did you? Yeah, I didn't. I began reading again, but I didn't as a 14-year-old boy. But they don't even follow sports teams. They follow a sport or a player or a line or something like that. The allegiances that we had to teams are gone, and that's sort of it's really interesting. And sitting and watching an entire game, I think it really messes with their level of concentration. But it is how it is. Like he's not in trouble for it, right? This is just what it's like. It's me who has to adjust.
But today it's just so weird we're talking about this because today up in the Bay Area. In San Mateo.
You commute to you do a radio show up there.
I fly there and fly back.
Right.
And on the peninsula, which is just south of San Francisco, there's this San Mateo High School. It's the biggest public high school in San Mateo County. And they started something today. This is apropos of what we're talking about. All the kids who are attending school have to put their cell phones in a pouch at the beginning of school, and then it's sealed for the entire day.
So it's like a Dave Chappelle show.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because that's the story I told when I went to Chappelle's concert in Vegas.
Oh, really?
That was the first time I'd ever been exposed to it, and I thought, this is weird. But then, and now it's not weird at all. You see it in a lot of different venues, in a lot of different situations. But anyway, they said that the degree to which kids were engaged and are engaged, and the whole experience has changed.
Yeah, and they've got to go in that direction at some point everywhere. But it's not going to go away. But just the kind of reeling it in to get people to engage. These kids are not as engaged as we were. And
my niece just got back from summer camp, at which there was also this rule, which is no cell phones, and so my sister was saying, oh, the whole experience has changed. The kids are talking to each other, and they're just engaged in other ways. So it definitely,
and they get used to not having. My son went to a summer camp where they did that too. They get used to not having it pretty quickly because nobody else does. But you could be like, you could have 4 kids come over to your house, hang out, whatever, sleep over, all that. 4 different people sitting in a room looking at their phones. I mean,
they're not talking to each other?
They're not talking to each other a lot of the time.
Are they doing a thing on the phone with each other?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're doing their own thing, sometimes they're playing games.
What are they doing?
You get the answers that you get from 15-year-old. I mean, they're doing, I keep up with him and what he's doing. Nothing that's terribly interesting to me.
Being radicalized,
nothing horribly nefarious that I can tell. And I work hard at it, and so does his mother. But it's again, like I'm not the old stop doing that. That's just what everybody's doing.
But my girlfriend and I go to dinner oftentimes. She'll be on her phone looking at stuff, and I'll be on my phone, and not a word is spoken for a half hour or whatever.
And she's texting me, and you're playing a game.
I'm texting your son, going, "What's going on?" Your father's really bumming out about the cell phone use.
See, I am all the time when I'm by myself, and ideally I'm by myself. But when I'm not by myself, because there's other people around and they occasionally infringe on my time, I try not to use it. Like, it's one of the reasons I'm so into like board games and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, people get together, I don't have my phone for a few hours, and we're just doing something.
Yeah.
And when have I said technically I'm married? So my wife. When my wife and I are out, we every once in a while we'll check something, but usually it's like when we get a notification, we'll respond or something.
She went from partner to wife in this show.
Yeah, the reason I said partner is because I'm only sort of married. It's complicated.
That sounds like the next thing we're going to talk about, but go ahead.
No, I really can't go into much detail, unfortunately.
We'll text.
But we try not to exactly. Actually, I feel like I should check my Snapchat. Is that okay? Just stick around for a second. I try not to. When my favorite experience, and this is sad, is getting done with like a night hanging out with friends and realizing, oh, I haven't checked my phone in 5 hours.
Right.
Because that, like, you were engaged and you weren't thinking about it. And I wonder will it swing the other way? Will their kids like all be hikers or something?
Well, I think that probably there's a backlash. I don't know they'll be hikers. I'd rather
there's no
be on my phone than hike.
Hiking, what's wrong with hiking?
I know you like hiking. But I think there's got to be some kind of a backlash, some kind of a not in a punitive way. I think that people will realize eventually there'll be some sort of balance.
No, there won't. That's completely wrong. And the fact is, yet again, Michael Shore, you're so far off. This is like saying in the early days of computers, well, I know everybody's obsessed with these things right now, but there's going to be a backlash, and we're going to get back to.
It's different. Those were far more. I do think it's different. I think there is something sort of the becoming. The loneliness of it, or the solitary use of this all the time, I think will manifest a change of some sort. These aren't going to go away. Our reliance on social media likely won't go away.
No, our immersion in them is not going to go away either. Your point about loneliness is a good one in that it has a corrosive effect for some people over time if it's not, if this stuff isn't augmented by a real life experience.
Right.
But I don't think it's gonna. I really don't think it's gonna change. In fact, I find each month with all the new apps and all the different ways that interactions are developed and all the the new dynamics, even within this basic dynamic, all of that innovation, I think, is only going to create.
So you're more seduced by that stuff than you were before. I think I'm less so. Like a new game, I'm not interested in a new game. I'm not interested in new fun. But that's also me because I'm sort of a Luddite with this stuff. I don't know much about technology really well, but I find when I'm, that I'm less interested in this thing. I visit like 3 or 4 places, and if I can't sleep, I play hearts. So like there's nothing that I and I would love to. We were talking about this before the show, actually. Like I would love to get rid of Twitter and not look at Twitter. That's the one that I'm most addicted to looking at.
Sure, me too.
And that's a problem. I wish that I weren't.
Well, it's a problem because I can't figure out whether for society, Twitter is, which dispenses or gives you access and awareness of so much information, so many articles, so many great things come from this world of Twitter that honestly, I can't see where they would come otherwise so quickly and with such high visibility. But at the same time, so much negativity, so much hate, it spreads this artificial sense of the world, you know? It becomes an echo chamber. It becomes a lot of things. Anyway, I can't figure out if it's a net positive or a net negative. I really can't.
I think that it has its positive moments. I think net it's a negative, but I do think that its positive moments are overpowering, right? I mean, the ability to spread word and news and awareness has never been duplicated, right?
It felt like back when Facebook had been around for a few years, I felt like you're getting a lot of stuff really fast. And it was nothing compared to Twitter, obviously. Yeah. And so hypothetically, there could be something beyond Twitter. I mean, I know there's a million other social media apps or whatever, but nothing quite to the level of Twitter. I guess there could be something after that. I mean, I know some people love Snapchat. I personally think that video is obviously popular and video is not going away, but video is incredibly inefficient in terms of your time. Like it takes way longer to watch a video than to read a tweet or anything like that. In terms of the negativity, like both for my job and also because I find it interesting, I can't leave Twitter, but I would cheer if it was destroyed. But what would happen? If it came down, I would just cry sweet tears.
100%. But what would happen if you left Twitter?
I mean, for my job, I have to be on Twitter.
I have to be on my Twitter for my job too. But do I have to?
I mean, it doesn't seem to be doing much for me.
Right, that's what I mean. Do I have I know more stuff. I know it quicker. I can see where Michael Bennett's going to be campaigning on Thursday without having to really search for it because
does anyone need
he just
to know
threw
that?
it. Nobody does, but I do for my job. And so there's this idea that what if I didn't have it? So what, right? I mean, it would. So what? Nobody's waiting to see what my next tweet is, and there's no one whose next tweet I'm dying to read, I have to read, right? But if something were to happen, I'd be jumping on Twitter and looking it up.
When you get up in the morning, or whenever you get up, do you
it's the morning,
look
usually.
at, which news site do you look at, and do you look at those news sites before Twitter, or do you check Twitter first?
Twitter first.
Twitter first, yeah.
I go to email first before I check Twitter.
Okay, but after email, between the news sources and Twitter is what I'm asking.
Well, you get an
email blast from a bunch of
email
places?
from newspapers, and I go into those papers.
So that means that you go to the papers first.
See, I don't get that. I just do Twitter, and then I'll check either my RSS feed or Reddit.
Yeah.
Like a next
I don't even know what those are. So that makes it easier for me.
RSS feed is just like you sign on to different sources of news.
Yeah.
Like Politico or whatever, the climate section of the New York Times or whatever. Like it can be specific, and you automatically have a list that's populated by information from the sources, and you can have it segmented out. Like I have one for politics, one for world news, one for science, one for gaming.
In a sense, you had me until the gaming one, but in a sense, you wouldn't need Twitter if you have the RSS feed.
It's still way faster. The RSS feed still relies on the New York Times publishing an article that then gets sent to it's still slow.
Okay, all right.
Reddit is pretty fast, hypothetically, but again, that's mostly aggregations of links.
What do you go to Reddit for?
Everything, basically. But some news, I do get news there, and especially world news, because the news sites that I go to generally aren't great on world news. And so if I'm gonna get that stuff, I have to go to a place that specifically has people from around the world posting to it. But also for any kind of gaming or
But is Reddit
anything.
user-generated stuff though, or is it like copy-edited real stuff?
I mean, it depends. Like, so Reddit is made of subreddits. So there's a politics subreddit. There's a fitness subreddit. There's a Nintendo Switch subreddit. Whatever. These are communities.
That's the
and
one
some
you'd
of the
be on,
communities.
Nintendo Switch.
Exactly. You probably want to be on there. Fortnite subreddit. Like any particular diet will have a subreddit, and they're controlled in different ways. So they can have moderators. Some are more community generated or whatever. A lot of the stuff, like for politics, it's just links. So it's
Can you do a
New York
Reddit?
Times articles?
Like,
what do you mean?
Meaning, like, is there like?
What was it? What do you ask? Can you do it?
Like, can John Idarola start a Reddit?
So yeah, probably. Okay. I don't know. I've never tried, but I post on some of them. And so like, you could probably start a subreddit. So if I I don't post on politics. The only ones I post on are non-newsy. So like a board games. Our board games is the subreddit for board games. I could post a link and it creates a link that people can click on and it has a little forum and people can talk back and forth and you can reply on there and stuff like that. You can post pictures or whatever. Okay. And for news, generally like in the politics one, it's not just like people like, hey, here's what I think about the news. It's here's a link from the New York Times, here's a link from the Washington Post, here's like, it's that.
And is every subject covered? Like, I mean, is there?
I mean, in the past, there were a lot of really dark subreddits that have had to be banned as Reddit has gotten
better.
But I
mean, are there like fan pages and like
individual people will have subreddits. The Young Turks has a subreddit, like anything basically.
So Reddit is made up entirely of subreddits. It's just the the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah. And the creator of Reddit was a founder of Reddit, just like I think he died when he was 27, right? He was.
Oh really? I thought he was still alive. I thought he married Serena Williams.
Or he is still alive and got married to Serena Williams.
I think he got married to Serena Williams.
It's got to be one of those two things, right?
I think if it's the guy I'm thinking of.
There's the fork in the road.
Right. Somebody should tell Serena Williams that she's single.
That her husband died back when he was 27.
Right. That's going to only bring disappointment.
Yeah. You can continue the charade as long as you want.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was interesting.
But anyway, that's a place to get news too. But Twitter
is
all
this stuff, or are you just playing along like you do?
What? I mean, Reddit and subreddit stuff? I got that.
You do, but you knew it going in?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I go to Reddit. It's an app.
I know it is. I don't have it. I'm not addicted to my phone like you are. I don't go to Reddit when I wake up in the morning.
Well, maybe if you had a Reddit and a subreddit.
I'm fine without it. Like, I'm fine. I know enough stuff about what I need to know stuff about. I feel like, right?
All right.
Yeah.
That's the thing, but like, have we reached peak knowing stuff? Like, what else? Do you know what I'm saying? Like in the morning when you wake up, do you need to know more? I mean, I'm not saying do you want to read a book about the building of the Panama Canal, because that's fascinating. I don't know enough about it.
Have you read a book about the?
No, I'm just saying.
You know the guy who founded the Panama Canal.
He definitely died. Right? Yeah.
He married Venus, actually.
Right. Yeah. Wow. But what I mean is, like, there are things that you can learn more about that are interesting, right? You may want to know more about the Korean War, you buy a book about it, you read it, right? Whatever. But do you need to know more than you know when you wake up in the morning? Like with the Reddit and the Twitter and the Snap and the email and the papers and the RSS, you do.
I want to. Like, so for news, like if something happened that I feel like I need to comment on, or if I need to prep it for the show or something, I want to know about that as soon as I can.
Right.
I mean, the thing about Twitter
is the New York Times would come, right, before the
yeah, but they can only cover so much stuff.
It's all the news that's fit to print, John.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But you felt after you read the Times at that time of American history that you knew everything, right? I mean, not every. I don't mean it that way. You had a sense of things, is a better way to put it, right?
Yeah, but the thing about Twitter is that it doesn't naturally have, it has some gatekeepers, but it doesn't naturally have as many gatekeepers. Like CNN covers a lot of stuff, New York Times covers a lot of stuff hypothetically, but they tend to come from the same sorts of sources all the time. Whereas Twitter, like, I follow organizers and activists and candidates that haven't risen to the level where CNN gives a damn who they are yet. And so if I were to only rely on those sources, I would literally never hear from these people.
That's fair. And I think that's what Mark was, when Mark hit on it when he said that you get a sense of things, right? And then if you read an article in the New York Times about, we'll go to the building of the Panama Canal, you're not going to get everything that happened. You're not going to get the Chinese laborer stance. You're not going to get the Barbadian shippers stance. But you could then go on and read more about it later.
I want to know if you're just BSing or if you literally know a lot about the building of the Panama Canal.
No, I don't know very much about it. I've been to the Panama Canal. I just thought of it as a thing that when I saw it, I was just blown away by it, and I wanted to know more about it. And I don't know very much more than when I was there. But the whole what I mean is that it's interesting the way we consume information now, obviously, and I guess my question was, do we try and know too much?
No, but you're saying, do we try to know? And what I would say, if you're not trying to know, you're scanning a bunch of different things to get quick updates on a bunch of these things, and then you've kind of either bookmarked mentally or bookmarked literally, these spots that you're going to go back and check out more of. So I think at least in the morning pass, you're just sort of trying to get a feel for things. You know what I mean?
No, that's true, and I guess that's what I do, and we all do it in different ways. I mean, but it just feels like there's this overload, and the gatekeeper thing is an important thing, right? That the fact that there is no gatekeeper. The drawback to that is also editors are important too.
Right, and I think that the editor part of this is the real, so far in this conversation, undersold aspect that I like a curated news source where I get there in the morning. This is your morning briefing from the New York Times, Washington Post, San Francisco Chronicle, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, whatever it might be. And then, or CNN or some of these other things, or HuffPo, or, again, Daily Beast, whatever your deal is. But what I would say is that curated, at least for those who are trying to handle all the top news of the day, of the world, that curated blast is a good first pass right away. I mean, somebody is trying to look at everything going, well, this thing in Syria probably today reaches a threshold, by which we should mention it up top.
You're reading an article that has presumably been read by 4 people who are paid to make sure that the facts in the article are, in line.
Right.
That the bias is in line, if that's the case, depending on what you're reading. That there's some kind of oversight to these things, as opposed to me tweeting out, hey. I think I just saw, Joe Lieberman walk out with a prostitute, right? I mean, so it's
wow.
We've got one source, one more, we can go to print.
Don't go with it. But you know what I mean? Like there's something that's reassuring about that. But that age is gone now, I think. I mean, except in certain places, the age of editors. I mean, there are a lot of people policing.
There are fewer and fewer. You're right.
There are fewer and fewer.
And then occasionally, one of the reasons that I haven't fled Twitter more, and I know a lot of people who have. My wife's done with it, at least for now. She actually left Instagram too,
what about your
which
partner?
I find to be.
Is your partner still on?
I'll have to check. Okay. She left Instagram too, which I always found to be a much more positive place.
That's what I like about Instagram. It's political. Well, it's not politics free, but it's.
But isn't it a time suck? Instagram. It seems like Instagram is. I don't know. I'm not on it, but it seems like people just drown in it, right?
I don't know how you could spend a lot of time.
Is that right?
Okay. No, you're right. It gets boring really fast.
Okay.
Like after a few posts, like whatever.
Right.
Well, and my main issue, and this gets to the tech companies and how they work, but I had one period when I was in the Arctic, I posted a lot of pictures. Other than that, I almost never do. The thing that ruined it for me was they decided that on all these platforms, there's always a question of how do you present the information? Is it chronological or do we apply a feed to it? And usually, they want to do a feed, and they want to do it for a few different reasons. They think that it's going to give you stuff you're going to be more interested in, you'll spend more time on it, or it's easier for them to fit stuff like ads in. But usually, they'll give you the option. But Instagram decided, no, we know better than you. You can't have a chronological feed if you want to. It has to be presented as we want, not in order. So when you load it up, you don't see the most recent photos that have been uploaded.
Right.
Almost always, the photos I see are 18 to 24 hours old by the time I ever see them. And I can keep reloading. I'm never gonna get to the photo you just uploaded 5 minutes ago until 24 hours go by.
Is that right?
That's it's a messed up
it's infuriating.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't use Instagram nearly at all anymore.
What about, but Twitter does that too in a frustrating way.
But you can choose to switch back to chronological. They have a button.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, you can choose to. And I also noticed that even when they do the feed, it's not as delayed. Instagram, like it's literally always 18 hours.
Right, it'll be a few old ones on Twitter and then you can scroll and then you'll get the
But
new
you can just go straight chronological.
Right, okay.
I feel like Instagram, which is this happy place, just photos, dogs and stuff, for them to do that, it just feels like an insult. It's like, no, you're too stupid to be trusted to make your own decision about this.
Right, that's weird.
Yeah.
What do they gain by that?
Ad placement or something like that.
Yeah, must be. If it doesn't make sense, it's about money. You can trust.
That's so true.
To our dear friends on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Alas, our time is done. But to those who are listening, our linear and podcast crew, stay right where you are. We're gonna keep going. And of course, members, you never have to worry about any of these announcements. We just cruise on into the very end with all the members. So anyway, all right, YouTube guys, Bye-bye.
On the go, you can still listen to TYT on our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or tyt.com/podcast. I'll see you there.